Hey guys, it's Destiny, and today I wanted to talk about Jing Liu and how to prepare for her release based on what we know currently about her, possible relic options for you guys to pre-farm, and also team value and future value when it comes to her as a character. If you guys enjoy videos like these, make sure to subscribe and also leave a like to increase your chances of getting Jing Liu early when you pull her. I heard this will be really effective, just trust me. Without further ado though, let's get straight into it. I do want to quickly go over Jingliu's kit based on official information for those who don't know what she does. Jingliu is an Ice Destruction class character that primarily focuses on buffing herself up when she goes into her Mara Struck form. Her Mara Struck form will drain the health of allies when she attacks, which will also increase her own damaging potential, kind of like a vampire-like playstyle if you will. And when she is in the Mara Struck form, she will no longer consume skill points, but she also will not be able to gain them either. Similarly to Blade when he uses his skill and then is able to do enhanced basic attacks. You do need 2 stacks to get into this form, and the ways to get these stacks is her skill, her ultimate, and also starting her technique before the battle begins, which can also freeze enemies. Overall, pretty straightforward kit as to what she does, and she could definitely make for interesting team combinations. But now, let's go over how to prepare for Jing Liu. To prepare for Jing Liu, you want to acquire a lot of Destruction Trace materials. If you're looking to max everything out based on the previous Destruction 5 stars, for a level 6 basic attack and all maxed out talents, you will need this amount of Destruction materials. I will say, based off what we know about her kit so far, you may not have to focus too heavily though on her basic attacks. So if you want, you can take off a little bit of these materials if you do not plan to max that out as well. Depending on what light cone you use though, if you are looking to level up a new light cone for her, maybe even her light cone if you decide to go for that, I'd also farm roughly speaking this amount if it is also a 5-star light cone. And if you are going to use a 4-star light cone on her, this is the amount that you would need for the 4-star light cone. Currently, we do have the double calyx event, which means we get 12 additional instances per day, which means you can get a decent amount of additional materials every day, depending on what you do your runs on. But this is definitely good for getting a bunch of Destruction Trace materials for Jing Liu, and it just helps overall. I'd also recommend getting a good amount of credits and EXP books ready as well. For those who do buy the Battle Pass, this will be a bit easier, but for those who don't, you can also try to grind for these and do modes like MOC, as that will definitely help you guys for getting more books, more credits, and all of that good stuff, which is awesome as well. Also, beating overworld enemies in your free time can help you get the secondary items you need for leveling up a character's kit. As for Ascension materials though, it's likely it'll be the same as Yang Qing's fired material based on the location of the Lo Fu, and also we haven't received a new boss for 1.4 except for what it seems the fire material for Guanifin and Topaz and Numbi. Some may think that, okay, what if we do get a new boss though? But typically speaking, in the live stream, they do reveal if there's going to be a new boss for that 5-star. So just based on the location, what we know about Jing Liu, I'm going to heavily assume that it will be Yang Qing's required material. As for relics to grind though, based on what we currently know, a set that looks good overall is the Hunter of Glacial Frost set, as this set can increase ice damage, and also when your ultimate is used, you can have an increased amount of crit damage. This can benefit a majority of DPS characters, as a lot of DPS characters love crit rate and crit damage, and I'm sure Jing Liu is of course no exception to this. If you don't really feel like grinding for the Glacial Frost set though, you can look at Musketeer, since it's honestly pretty universal for a lot of characters, DPS and supports alike, so it's not a bad option if you can't get the ice set or don't really feel like grinding for it. If you have a limited amount of fuel or a limited amount of Trailblazer power every day and you're going between, okay, do I get the relics or do I get the traces? You already have a lot of good Musketeer pieces. I would definitely prioritize the traces, since the traces are guaranteed, so that's why I mentioned them first over the relics. I'd go for the relics last, since that is not a guaranteed thing for these stats you'll acquire. An interesting option though can be Quantum set. I can see this set being useful on Jing Liu if you run her with Quantum characters, in particular Silverwolf. I've mentioned this team in my prior video, but some may want to play Silverwolf, Fuxuan, or Lynx, Hela, and Jing Liu, which is a duo elemental team of Quantum and Ice. The idea of the Quantum set being used on Jing Liu here would be that Silverwolf inflicts Quantum weakness onto the enemy, or Ice if the enemy already has the Quantum weakness. And Jing Liu can take advantage of the defense shred from Pela, Silverwolf alongside the other debuffs Silverwolf does, and also the quantum set's ability to ignore defenses of enemies. So Jing Liu, as well as any other characters in this hypothetical team arrangement, can honestly go to town on enemies. The only thing that sucks about this set, in my opinion, is that it might feel like it lacks flexibility, since it'll be used better on this hypothetical team of the Ice Quantum, rather than another comp, in my personal opinion, that may have other elemental characters on the team. So for flexibility purposes and just, I guess, a more universal set, I'd personally look more at Glacial or Musketeer, but Quantum still is a cool concept for what I mentioned, and if you guys want to use the Quantum set and want to use that team, that can also be a consideration. If you already have Quantum pieces and you don't have Ice pieces, and you want to test out Quantum, there can be nothing wrong with that, just to try it out. Once she's here though, I will discuss her best sets based on, of course, once I get to play her, but these are what I believe will likely be nice to use overall. As for planar sets though, I'd look at the Rutilant set the most. It gives additional skill damage, which Jing Liu, once again, she gives me a blade vibe. Since once Jing Liu is in her Mara struck form, she'll no longer consume or gain skill points while in that form, but this will allow for a bunch of damage to come from her skill, since she'll be using this often within her form, and she'll also be using this even outside of the form to get into the form. I definitely look at the Rutilant set for this reason, since the skill boost can be nice overall. It's similar to how Blade can benefit from it for his basic attacks, and how Dan Hong can also benefit from it for his basic attacks, and even Zila at some cases will benefit from this as well if you are primarily focused on her skill rather than the ultimate with the inert set. So the Rutilant set, in my opinion, just looks really promising for Jing Liu. As for the stats though, we don't fully know until she's here, until we get more information on what her kit entirely provides, but I will go over this specifically in my guide next week. But for just an assumption, it's very likely attack boots, speed boots, ice sphere. It's just little things like that I would try to aim for when it comes for this character. Of course though, once again, once the guide is here, I will fully go over that. As for light cones though, we aren't 100% sure yet without knowing once again what she fully does, but it's likely that On the Fallen Aeon will be a nice free-to-play option, as it is for other characters like Dan Hong for example. I will also go over her light cone once we officially know what it does, and if I actually recommend pulling for her light cone over our current light cone options. So once we get info on that, I'll be covering that as well. But the last thing I wanted to talk about is some recommendations on possible teams and also Jing Liu's feature value. As mentioned before, someone can do the duo element comp with Payless, Silverwolf, Fushun, and Jing Liu. As for comps, she'll be able to work well with a buffer and debuffer combo and a sustain of your choosing. That is personally what I think she'll be able to work well with. Blade is also an option, since the health draining capabilities of Jing Liu when she is in her Mara struck form will allow Blade to use his follow-ups more, will allow Blade to also be able to reach the ultimate cap faster, as I've mentioned in prior videos. As for future value though, Jing Liu looks like another strong DPS option like Zila, Dan Hong Blade, and so on. This makes her very valuable in the case of having another elemental option that looks very capable of dealing high amounts of damage just based on what we know so far, and could be a great option especially if you are lacking a main DPS character. She doesn't per se look like a must-have character if you already have other options, but I'll definitely say she's a must-have for me just because of her design and cool-looking animations. Similarly to our other DPS characters, while more DPS options will come out, we will also eventually get more supports and debuffers that can benefit our current DPS characters to still make them even stronger in the future past their initial release. For example, Guinaifen, she's able to inflict Fire Kiss on enemies and make enemies take more damage, which can be a buff to anyone's DPS potential if you didn't have other options that already supported your main DPS. Guinaifen will likely also be amazing with Kafka due to Guinaifen being able to use Burn pretty consistently from what we've seen, and also the Fire Kiss. So we'll continuously get options that are able to support a main DPS character, so at the end of the day when it comes to future value, she looks fine to me and just looks promising overall. As for me though, you might have to call me the Jing Liu saleswoman just because of her moon aesthetic. That'll be all though for today's video on pre-farming for Jing Liu. I'm definitely very excited for her release, and I will be making a few more videos for you guys leading up to her release, one of which being the light cone, and then once we know her traces, I will also just go over that in a quick video as well. But then we'll get the complete Jing Liu guide once she's here, And I also have a few very fun videos planned for next week. If you guys want to check out the fun content as well as the guides and just discussions overall, make sure to subscribe. And if you guys want to know when I upload, hit the bell button down below. This will let you know when my videos go live. If you guys did enjoy, leave a like on this video to support it. And I cannot wait for Jing Liu to finally be here for all of us to have fun with. I hope you all have a nice one like always. Peace.